crowds will be going nuts. It's going to be a great atmosphere for high school football on Saturday.
Tonight's Chuck Smith Show, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service, is also brought to you by our loyal sponsors. Charlie's Bar and Restaurant, located at 800 Shore Road in Summers Point. Meet your friends at Charlie's at the shore since '44. Chico & Son Sub Shop, located at 1620 Tilton Road, Northfield. Choose the #1 sub shop in South Jersey. And the Docks Place, located at 646 Bay Avenue in Summers Point. Book your dinner reservations now at 609-926-0404. Thank you for your support of Mainland Regional Football.
But when you have a solid program, a lot of that can take over what an individual might do. Before he releases the ball, he takes a shot right as he releases it here. And for him to stand in there in the face of that, and that's just the confidence that he has. And like I found myself just trying to catch my breath for a bit because of the excitement and just the pressure of that moment. This is a game that the kids, you live for.
This is the Chuck Smith Show on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Now, here's Coach Smith and your host, Nick Kosko.
The Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me as he is every week, Mainland head coach Chuck Smith, a Monday night edition of the show as we turn our attention towards the NJSIA playoffs here in 2025. Coach, good to talk to you again. You guys coming off a big win on Friday night at home in the regular season finale, 35-0 over Delsea. You finished 5-4 through that 9-game slate, but on tap as you guys grab the number 4 seed in South Jersey Group 3. Number 5, Ocean City, coming for a visit. Your second matchup with your rivals this season. So we'll dive into all of that. But first off, just a dominant win on Friday night, pretty much firing off on all cylinders, and you guys cruised in the second half.
Yeah, Nick. It was a big game for us, to solidify hopefully a higher seed in the bracket to get a home playoff game. It was a senior night at the Corral. The kids came out with something to prove. Friday night, and they came out in that first half and really, did the job, did everything that was asked, executed flawlessly almost on offense. Defense played an outstanding game, pitching a shutout our first of the season, which is hard to get no matter who you're playing. And very proud of the effort, very proud.
John Franchini threw for 240 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jake Blum had 2 of those touchdown receptions, including the record breaker, which now stands at 19 all-time for a career, and hopefully counting for you guys. Obviously, 2 fumble recoveries in the game as well. So you guys were dominant on all fronts. Nate Cashy, perfect on his extra points at 5 for 5 on Friday night. Just Delsea was a team last year that gave you fits, and we talked about it last week where they held the ball for 80% of the game last year. You guys ended up squeaking out a win in overtime, which really propelled you in the playoffs the following week. So would you find that this game is maybe in a similar fashion where wasn't as close this time around, but you guys put it all together, and now it could propel you into this first round playoff game on on Saturday morning?
Yeah. Delsea is a tough team to get ready for. They run kind of like an offense you don't see every day. Everybody's so spread nowadays and doing different things, variations of the spread offense. And they're under the center, old school wing tee option type of team. Tough to prepare for, really. It was a big win for us to come out on senior night and just execute, after a tough, one-sided loss against Winslow the week before, try to get our bearings straight again as you head into the most important part of the season of playoffs. And, I thought the kids had a lot of energy. There was a big crowd at the stadium, and, they did everything that was asked, which it was just a good night at Mainland.
You guys will vie for your 4th straight sectional title here in 2025, again, Saturday, 11 a.m. at the Corral, hosting Ocean City. I know weather and Halloween on Friday has had, kind of configured the schedule a little bit weirdly after this past week. But Ocean City, they got in. So before we actually dive into them, we will dive into some highlights from Friday night. We'll start out with the aforementioned Jake Blum, 19th career touchdown reception on a nice throw from John Franchini. And again, Blum just cruising into the end zone. Yeah,
play action play. And, Jake's had an outstanding 2 years with us at wide receiver. And of course, Johnny's been the guy for the last 4 years, and just well-executed play, good timing between the two of them. And, I totally forgot about the record until later on, and then realized that not even at the game, I didn't even know it until we had our meeting. Actually, this afternoon when I did stats yesterday, that he had broke the record, and really, really just a great thing. It's just a tribute, I mean, you think about it, like Johnny's thrown 50-something touchdown passes, I think, overall in his career, and I think 37 of them have gone to Jake Blum or Jamie Tyson, who's now playing at Villanova. So not bad people to throw to. But it was a great pass play, a good pass, great job of running underneath the ball. It was nice to see a kid like Jake get that record.
Yeah, it was even just 2 weeks ago against Egg Harbor Township at home. Jake broke the receiving record in terms of total yards for a career, and now he's that's when he actually tied Jamie with his 18th career touchdown. So it was all about that. Of course, Nate Cash set the extra points record across the entire state of New Jersey. So it's like, oh yeah, he had one more, and all of a sudden now he's the Mainland all-time leader in touchdown catches. Could very well get the receptions record if you guys play, maybe another game or 2 or 3. We'll see what there. The final highlight we have for you from Friday night, of course, was this last throw here. John Franchi, just an absolute rope here to Andrew Gilman.
Yeah, I was really proud of the offense on this drive. We got the ball, I forget how much, the minute something left in the half, on our own 25 or 35-yard line, and went to our no-huddle offense just to try to execute and get another score in before halftime. And just a good job of Johnny stepping up and hitting Andrew Gilman. Gilman makes a nice catch. He had a big night for us the other night, I think, with 3 catches for 70-something yards and 2 TDs. And, I mean, if you look at that play, like Johnny really takes a shot at that at the end of that, right as he releases the ball, he gets popped and just stood in it. And that's been kind of his MO during his career. A lot of times he's put the ball on the money and taken a big hit from somebody, but completed the pass, stands in there and takes the hit to complete the play. But it was a big score for us just to get it up to 35-0 and get that clock running in the second half and be able to put in some of our young guys to play rest of the other guys for the big games coming up.
Has Andrew Gilman really developed and as a tight end over the last couple of weeks? I feel like he's been more involved in the offense. I know you guys lost Chase Hogue a couple of weeks ago, so it's one less weapon to have on offense. But I feel like Gilman's really stepped up at that tight end position, and he's been able to be more of a factor in that passing game.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's a good athlete, good size, good hands. He was a split end for 2 years before that, and last year we converted him over to tight end, and he got better as the season went last year. And it's kind of like the same thing. Like this year, the second half of the season, he's like seems like he's getting more comfortable again with it, and he's a weapon for us, and we just got to take advantage of him.
So you guys will take on Ocean City for the second time this season. Big rivalry game. You were at their place earlier this year on October 3rd. Won that game 20-7. So you won the Battle of the Bridge trophy. So trophies technically on the line again here in this 2025 campaign, but a little bit more on the line now is advancing in the bracket. That game will be on Saturday at 11 a.m. at your place this time. So you beat him the first time. Actually, I'll rewind a little bit because we were up in the booth after you guys were done. We put the game on because they were in an overtime battle with Cedar Creek. One with a field goal in overtime knocked off what a Cedar Creek team that looked like they were going to be the number 1 seed in this bracket. They dropped to 2. So all these local teams are going to be fighting for this South Jersey sectional crown. So they knocked them off over in Ocean City. Did you hear about that game? Like it pretty much immediately in the locker room? Were you guys keeping track, or did you find out pretty much Sunday morning with the rest of the brackets?
Nah, we kind of, someone said something to me near the end of our game what the score was. I think then it was 17-9 or something like that. Cedar Creek was winning. And then I think when we were on the field after the game, someone said something else. Then we went into the coach's office and we put it on and watched the end of it. And it was funny because during the school day, someone said to me, Cedar Creek, Ocean City, Cedar Creek's going to beat them. I said, well, that's why you play the game. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. It's a huge game for Ocean City to be able to make the playoffs. A win would put them in, and that's what happened. They played hard. They played inspired. You can tell just by watching the tape that they played with everything to lose, in that game. They played that way, like that was going to be the end or else. And that's what you hope your team plays like at this time of the year, because that's what it is now. It's do or die. But they played a great game, and he took advantage of a couple of Cedar Creek miscues, and they made the plays when it counted most. At the end of the game, scoring a touchdown, then a 2-point conversion, and then blocking a field goal attempt in overtime, and then converting their own field goal attempt. And it was just amazing because I have no idea how these brackets are formed anymore.
Yeah.
I just rely on everybody else to tell me. And it blew my mind, though, that they went from 18 all the way up to wherever they wound up finishing, but that just shows, they beat
11, actually, right behind you guys at 10.
Yeah. And I was like, holy cow, man, that really catapulted. I knew they were going to make the playoffs, but, I didn't realize they would jump that high, but it's a hats off to them, great effort by them and well-deserved victory.
Yeah, head coach Sean Matthews leading that team to a 5-4 record in his first year as head coach. And again, the losses they've had, they had a bad loss against Holy Spirit, but otherwise they've played pretty tough. I know they played a brutal game against Atlantic City as well. But other than that, overtime loss to Eastern, only a 2-score loss to you guys. So they're, they've hung in there for most of these games and obviously knocking off a Cedar Creek team like that, propelling them in there. When you look at, and again, I know you know pretty much everything about Ocean City football at this point, especially I already haven't played them this year and being this such a historic rivalry here in South Jersey. When a team like that, where they need to win to get in, while you guys were pretty much already firmly in, but we're playing for more positional purposes, but you have a history of this playoff success for the last couple of years. For them, it was like, we want to keep our playoff streak alive, but we're a little bit more of a desperate team right now. When they win a game like that, what does it do for a team like Ocean City coming into on the road now playing you guys this week?
I think it gives them a lot of energy, they pull off a big victory over probably nobody except themselves thought they were going to win. And then they're coming in for a revenge game against us in the playoffs, to get back at us. And we all know how Mainland Ocean City is in every single sport. You don't need to add anything to it, but they have a little extra incentive after, us beating them over there on their home field earlier this year. And they're a much better football team now too. The quarterback looks like he's 100% healthy. He's running a lot differently. Defense looks sound. They're making plays up there. It really took the defensive front, really came across against one of the best running backs in all of South Jersey last week, and were able to contain him for the most part. He had a couple decent runs, but they really contained him overall. So I think it gives them a lot of energy to come in here. And I don't think you need to inspire your teams much at this time of the year because especially with us, we've had a lot of success over the last few years in the postseason. And, our goal was always to get back to the sectional and hopefully to Rutgers again. And, and what else do you need to do to inspire yourself and play your arch rival again,
Yeah, without a doubt. Jackson Becker, their quarterback, threw the ball a little bit, 8 of 12, 125 yards against Cedar Creek, but ran for 88 and a touchdown. Tristan Schmidt, their talented running back, and he also had a touchdown over 80 yards as well. So that dynamic duo is back and obviously clicking right now. What do you say is the biggest challenge about playing a team like Ocean City twice in 1 year? And I guess maybe even a general question, when you do have to play a team twice in 1 year, regular season, and obviously the second time around in the postseason. You guys have done it before, which we'll dive into it briefly, but when you have to play somebody twice, it's like maybe you want to do some of the same things that you did in the first game, but there always has to be tweaks, especially since 4+ weeks ago, they were maybe not an entirely different team, but certainly a different squad than what you'll see Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, you always are looking at this time of year to do something a little bit different, because everybody's watching your tapes. Everybody has every tape that you've played all season long. And, us in Ocean City know each other very well, and you look at what they did well, what worked for them, against us and vice versa. And yeah, you might go to that, but also they're looking to fix that too. Whatever we hurt them with, I'm sure they're looking to hone up and shore up, and the same thing with us. But there's going to be little tweaks here and there. It's that time of the year where there's going to be tweaks here and there. But it still comes down to they're a run football team, and he's a good passing quarterback also, but they're a run heavy football team, and they do a good job of that. Do a good job, and that's what it is. We got to really shut down their running game. It's a two-headed monster between the quarterback and number 3. He's a nice downhill runner. Compact, strong kid. They have a nice front up in front of them on the offensive line. They got a couple tall, lanky receivers that keep you on your toes and keep you honest. So you can't always just cheat up to stop the run. You got to be worried about them pulling the plug and throwing the ball with their timely passes. But yeah, we really got to contain that run game that they have on their offense.
When you look at the playoff history with this team, and I know we talked about it when you guys were about to play them earlier in October, when it came to, we've had our regular season battles, and obviously we've had our playoff battles and these, that historic run back in the 90s. But recently, obviously, they have had the one-up, so to speak, in the playoffs. I know, 2019? You guys were 8-0. You played them the final week of the year, but then they turn around and beat you guys the very next week in the quarterfinals, and they got, they had the upper hand 2 years later in the first round as well. when you guys were matched up against each other for a second time. So when you look at the playoff history, I don't imagine that looms large, and it's pretty much just about this team. But is there something about playing them in the playoffs that's maybe a little bit different than just saying, hey, the trophy's in the line in the regular season, but now the playoffs are around, it's a little bit different?
Yeah, the trophy's a nice thing to play for in the regular season, and we just put that on the shelf. Both of us have done that in the postseason, and then but the postseason is the thing. Everybody's playing for a championship now, and you had your chance at a division championship by now. You've played for those little trophy things, for the rival things, and now it's a bigger prize. The much bigger prize, the thing that you get a banner in the gym, your name's on it, you live on, your legacy lives on forever. And that's it's special that way. And we have a little bit of a history. I've been through, I think, every playoff game against Ocean City. All the times we played them twice in a season and so forth. Times where we were the underdog and upset them in the postseason and vice versa. And it's tough when it's always hard to beat anybody two times, let alone your rival. But that's how it is. But I think it's special. It's one of those things. There's going to be a giant crowd there. Because it's going to be the only game around at 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And, you have that extra incentive of the playoffs and all that. It's supposed to be a beautiful day on Saturday. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of energy on that field on both sides of the ball. The crowds will be going nuts. It's going to be a great atmosphere for high school football on Saturday.
Yeah, when you look at that, when you prepare for, I guess, a Saturday game this time around, do you adjust the practice plan a little bit, knowing that you have an extra 12 hours, so to speak, than you normally would? What's it like playing on Saturday morning instead of the usual Friday night?
Yeah, it is different. You get an extra day of work, extra day of rest and recovery too. It's just you can't, like in the preseason, you can kind of tweak if you're playing early, like when we did Battle of the Beach and all. You're playing in the morning, so you can adjust a week ahead and start practicing at that time frame, so you're used to it. But this time of year, you really can't because you have school. So you can't simulate that time to get the kids ready with their body clocks. But our kids do a great job of being smart, eating right all week. The thing that scares me is it's Halloween the night before, so hopefully they're not going to be pigging out on junk food the whole time. They're smart and they're really excited and focused. We had a great team meeting today and a walkthrough practice out there and a workout on the track and stuff. And just like I'm sure Ocean City is, they're excited too. I don't know if they really a couple weeks ago, I don't know if they thought they'd be here. After the Holy Spirit loss, and then coming back after that loss to beat one of the top teams in South Jersey. It's really says something about their character and something we have to be ready for. And that's why I was telling the kids today, like, this isn't the same team we played a few weeks ago. They're a much better football team now. And so are we. We're different too. But, at the same time, we got to be ready for them. We got to be ready.
Two great football cultures clashing once again on Saturday morning. This could be the potential final home game for all your seniors, and obviously with the playoffs, it's always like, all right, maybe this could be the last game. You're not, the only game where it's the last game is state championship.
Yep.
Playoffs could be very random. It's do or die at this point. I'll focus on the potential final home game for you guys in the event that you guys do advance, where with the way the brackets shake out, probably have to be traveling on the road, as would Ocean City. When you look at, I guess this is the final time that these seniors are going to be suiting up in the green at the corral, potentially, never again. Is that how do you have those conversations with your seniors this year? I guess compared to the last couple of years, where this senior class has, as we've said multiple times this year, they've seen it all over the last 3 years.
Yeah, they have. They've been fortunate to be on all these sectional championship teams, a couple of runs to the state championship and an undefeated season there. It's kind of neat, and we always have our walkthrough practice in the stadium, and the one end, as is all decorated with all the championship banners. Yeah, and they're part of a lot of them, and it's funny, like you might in all the years I've coached, you might put up a banner here or a banner there, and these guys have a whole section on the fence and a giant white one for the state championship and a couple division championships and stuff like that, and the team from the 23 is up on the video scoreboard with their own little tile up there. Yeah. It's really neat. And I think that's part of what makes being at Mainland so unique is there's so much history over the years and so many great teams and so many of our alumni come back. And I think they don't I think by the time they're seniors, they get it. When they're freshmen, sophomores, maybe even junior year, they don't understand what it took and the people who played before them. And, we always invite the guys back from previous years. We got guys that come back to our stadium and to see the kids from the 1960s, 70s, 80s. They all come back and they're connected. They're connected to the program. And they know who all these kids are because of our weekly emails that go out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think now the kids, when they're seniors, especially when you're getting to the end and there's an end now in sight, hopefully it's not for several more weeks. I think they start to grasp the reality of it and the importance of it. And, to me, it's bittersweet because you always enjoy, being in this profession. You always enjoy watching kids mature, develop, and move on and be successful at whatever they're doing. But at the same time, you wish you could keep them, you don't want to miss those guys, and that's how it is with these guys. I've seen them. I've been watching these kids since they've been probably in sixth grade. Some of these kids I've known since they've been 7 years old, and watching them through the youth programs and basketball and football and stuff. And, bringing them along as freshmen and when they were coming on their tours and visits with their families and things like that. And now all of a sudden they're getting ready to graduate, and that's always the hard part. Whenever you hit that last game, and it hits you all of a sudden. And it's kind of like being a coach is like a father to them as kids. And when you see them and their emotions come out, it affects you deeply also.
Yeah.
And we're hoping we'll see that. I just hope I see tears of joy, next several weeks, as we go. But it's kind of one of those things I think that puts more of a seriousness in it also. Because, when we hit this time of the year, as we have the last few weeks, man, there is such a focus. It's unbelievable out there. I'm not saying that we're not focused all the time during the season, but you always know there's next week. There's next week and next week. And now we're not sure if there's going to be next week. And, you see the kids really dial in because even though they know they're near the end of the line, they don't want it to be the last game, let alone against their arch rival.
Yeah, it seems like this senior class, as we've said numerous times throughout the entire season and over the last couple of years, they've seen a lot. They've seen the success. They've come up short. They've experienced heartbreak, elation, all those emotions over the last 3 seasons, and now eventually they'll wrap up this 4th season. And as you said, for them, hopefully they can keep it going after Saturday. Coach, well, good luck on Saturday, 11 a.m. kickoff, a unique one, but nonetheless, it's still Ocean City. It's still Mainland. It's the South Jersey Group 3 quarterfinals. Again, we'll see what happens moving forward. We'll talk again next week regardless, but now it's do or die time. It's the best time of the year. It's football playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting on Saturday morning at the Corral. We're really, really looking forward to it.
Ocean City at Mainland, South Jersey Group 3 quarterfinals here in New Jersey, 11 a.m. at Mainland Regional High School. Good luck on Saturday, Coach. We'll be watching, of course. We'll be there. We'll be covering all that good stuff, and hopefully it's a great green and white crowd on your sideline.
I hear you. Thanks, Nick. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. It's the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service.